Hi, I'm Josiah,
And I'm Annie.
and this is Worth Watching.
.300 Rise of an Empire.
The far less necessary and far less interesting sequel to 300. Alright, hello and welcome to this episode of Worth Watching. Now today, Colin is out, so we have the friend of the show, Annie, here.
Hi, guys.
The movie we'll be reviewing tonight is 300 Rise of an Empire, starring Sullivan Stapleton, Eva Green, and Rodrigo Santoro. The plot of the movie actually takes place at the same time as the plot of the original film 300, only this is following the battles that the Athenians were waging while the Spartans were defending Thermopylae. And so essentially it's the same story from a slightly different perspective, and that's pretty much the setup for the film.
Okay, so I know I might be alone in this opinion, but I really liked the characters of this new movie. They were some of them were the same, obviously, but the new ones I got into.
For me particularly, there was actually one character that I was really interested in seeing, and that was Eva Green's character, Artemisia. I thought she was a really interesting character to throw into the mix. A really ruthless battle leader for the Persians, and she had sort of an interesting backstory. So she was really the primary character I was interested in seeing. But overall, I really felt that the characters of this movie were less likable than in the original movie. And I couldn't buy Sullivan Stapleton as a military leader as much as I could Gerard Butler, so I really had an issue with that. Long story short, I was fairly disappointed with this film. I thought it didn't have the same grit and the same weight that the original 300 had. And I think part of that is due to the fact that it was focusing on the Athenians rather than the Spartans, and so the story was just less interesting to me. And the other thing I thought there was a problem was that it wasn't directed by Zack Snyder. I thought it felt less sort of focused than his movies do. I thought the visual style felt off. Whereas his movies felt like a beautiful painting. Like the original 300, every single shot in the original 300 felt like a scene out of a comic book. Whereas in this, there was always just clutter on the lens of the camera. Things didn't slow down at the right moments for me, and the battles were a lot harder to follow. I just really didn't get into it as much as I did the original 300.
Not just that, but in the battle scenes, from the opening scene, I was disappointed in the graphics of the blood and the violence. They were really fake, really not done well, so that was really disappointing.
And that's not to say that the blood in the original 300 was realistic, but this looked like, as you put it, Jell-O. It was absolutely horrible and really distracting.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, this movie did something that I think is one of the worst things that a sequel can possibly do, if not the worst, which is make me wish that I was watching the first one instead of this. I mean, this movie has little sort of flashbacks to things that happened in the first movie, and every time I saw one of them, I was like, oh, I really wish I was watching 300 instead of this, because it was so much more interesting. Things just made more sense in the first one, and things fit really well in the first one.
Something that didn't fit real well in the new one was definitely the sex scenes. In the first one, it was definitely, they were well placed, maybe...
Well, and they made sense with the plot in the
Definitely,
first one.
definitely. Well, this one, it was just totally unnecessary. Just as violent as all the war scenes. It was really disturbing and just totally out of place.
Really awkward and, very unnecessary feeling and it's sort of confusing. And that I think is one of the major downfalls of this movie is that everything feels less focused than the original. Things don't make as much sense. The violence doesn't feel as visceral as in the first movie. It just feels cartoonish, where the first film felt stylized. The movie as a whole just really, I had a hard time getting into it, and really the only moments I could really get into were when the Spartans were featured in the movie. Every scene that had the Spartans in it felt like I was watching the first 300, and I loved. Problem is, they're in the movie for a grand total of probably 15 minutes, and those are the best 15 minutes of the movie, in my opinion.
Yep, I totally agree. The Spartans were the best part. Every time I saw them, I started to get excited, hoping it would show more and more. It didn't, sadly.
So, on a scale of A through F, what would you rate the film?
I would personally give it a C because, of course, it wasn't the best movie. It was a big disappointment to the first one, but I enjoyed it while I was watching it. Sadly, I wouldn't go back and see it again, so...
I would probably have to give it a D, and as you know, I don't give movies a D often. I was really hopeful this was going to live up to at least some level of the first one, and at least I was going to enjoy the action in it, or at least have a couple characters to care about, or think that it was visually stunning, and I was really disappointed on all of those fronts, so I would have to give it a D.
Alright, thanks for watching this episode of Worth Watching.
Like if you liked the video, comment down below on what you thought of 300 Rise of an Empire, and subscribe if you want to see more. Bye.